Your phone?
I thought I left it in the library earlier.
Oh, did you?
I went in, but it's not there. So that when I went like this, I thought maybe you had my phone.
Did you come into my office, maybe?
Check, check. Ooh, works.
So Shabbat Shalom, this isn't a Purim joke. We're doing our Purim spiel on Sunday, and each year we do a show extravaganza coordinated by Linda and her team. And so we've moved the readers table out because it's going to be a full stage show. In the interim, I think that this configuration actually works quite nice for the conversation which we're going to have as part of our APAC Shabbat and IAC report. So it works well for all of us. We turn in our prayer books to page 128 for Matovu, page 128. And you'll notice as well tonight, Lisa is our Linda. Lisa Siegel is our president, is our soloist tonight. We begin on page 128.
How about instead we start on page 140 with Hine Matov?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
Note to self, correct Linda's typo. That's page 128.
Oh, 128 for Hine Matov.
We did it. It was great. We now turn, and of this page number, I'm positive. We turn to page 120 for Hadlakat HaNorot, the kindling of the lights of Shabbat. As a community, we join together as a congregation in welcoming Shabbat together. Officially, we note this when we all are here for candle lighting. Ruthie Holt leads us this evening in kindling the lights of Shabbat, page 120 in our prayer books.
Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them. So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness remind us of the generation of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own way, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו מצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו במצוותיו, וציוונו להדליק נר של שבת.
Amen. Ruthie, thank you. We turn to page 138, page 138 for L'Chadodi. We'll be singing the first, the second, and then on page 139, the 9th verses of our hymn, L'Chadodi.
L'Chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'Chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila, Lecha dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mikor habracha, Merosh mikedem nesucha, Sof maaseh b'machshava tehila. Lecha dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gam b'simcha u'bzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi chala, Lecha dodi, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela, Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nikabela.
We now turn to page 146. For those who are able, we rise for the Baruch Hu.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed.
Page 149, we read together in English at the top of the page.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'ma'ariv ha'ravim.
Page 151, the top of the page. As you
taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truth. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam. olam vaed.
Please be seated. Ve'ahavta, page 154.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'darech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha uchshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu litotafot beineinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Emet, page 157. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Mi Chamocha will be found on page 158.
Ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya ba bum bum bim bum, ya bum bum bim bim bum, ya ba bum bum bim bum, ya die 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 die, ya ba bum bum bim bum, ya die 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 die, ya ba bum bum bim bum. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, no ra tehilot o sefele, no ra tehilot o sefele, ya bam bam bim bim bam, ya ba bam bam bim bam, ya bam bam bim bim bam, ya ba bam bam bim bam, ya die 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 die, ya ba bam bam bim bam, ya die 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 die, ya ba bam bam bim bam.
Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. We turn to page 160. We read together in English, "Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel. For your name's sake, be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore. Blessed are you, Adonai, guardian of Israel, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem." We turn to page 162. Yismechu is our second paragraph down on the page.
Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei 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 Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshe Shevi Shabbat Kulam Yispehu Ve'itangu Vetu Vecha Shabbat Lai 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 Yismechu V'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat chemdat yamim oto karata Shabbat Lai Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat Zecher Lema'aseh v'reishit Shabbat Zecher Lema'aseh v'reishit Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat Yismechu v'malechutecha Shomrei, Shomrei, Shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat.
We turn to page 164. For those who are able, we rise. For the tefillah, we chant the prayers on the right-hand pages, on the even-numbered pages, beginning page 164, continuing to page 170.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, Umevi Gula Lifnei V'neihem, L'man Shemo B'Ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah v'hoshiach. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim v'rofei cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar. Michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanat lehachayot ha'akol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayei hakol.
You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Please be seated. The news remains scary, and precautions to endeavor to limit exposure to COVID-19 are worldwide. Here in Southbury, by last week, B'nai Israel already had discouraged our typical hugging and kissing and handshakes on the bima. Next came news how in France, La Bise, the traditional kiss, kiss, or air kiss on each cheek had been put on hold. Israel's prime minister has promoted the Indian greeting of Namaste. I, in turn, have advocated a hand over the heart as a greeting, as is done in some Hispanic nations. Avowing for generations, Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people live, we remain focused on life, health, and security, and safety. The threat of pandemic deservedly captures our attention and induces in us best practices. In so doing, at a dangerous time, may we not lose sight in the blessing of shalom, including peace of mind. May Shabbat be a time of respite and renewal, as we avow that even amidst a host of isolating practices, we are one, linked to each other, a common humanity. We are linked to a source of holiness, and we are linked to a sacred tradition. With that hope, we sing Shalom Rav for abundant peace, page 178. V'Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav V'Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol
Shalom, ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. V'tov b'necha levarech et amecha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה Bishlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We pause now for silent prayer, page 180.
Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Page 371. Each Shabbat, we pray on behalf of dear ones within and beyond our congregational family who are ill and in need of healing. We voice the hope that they might know comfort and support. I invite you now to raise your hand, and after I silently acknowledge you, speak the names of those persons not on our prayer list for whom likewise we should pray this Shabbat.
Leonard Siegel. Misheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikol renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Sorry about that.
So the largest gathering of the Jewish community in America, a gathering of over 18,000 people, was held this week in Washington, D.C. I'm delighted to report that proportionally, we here in Southbury and this part of Connecticut were well represented, not only with our own minyan, but with our own baker's dozen, including a youth delegate, Paul Sandberg, who came all the way from his college in Kansas to be there at this conference. AIPAC is a bipartisan organization supportive of a strong relationship between America and Israel. It's an extremely effective lobbying organization at a time when the Jewish community and Jewish organizations have shrunk. AIPAC has grown to, in no small measure, on account of its singular mission to positively engage Israel and its determination to be bipartisan. This was my 10th consecutive conference. They gave me a button. I don't think I wore the button. In each one, I felt that I was a witness to history, as what was said at policy conference tended to dominate national and international news, or even other groundbreaking moments. For example, at a breakout session, I was there as the Minister of Finance of Azerbaijan became the first Shia Muslim minister ever to attend a Jewish conference. Yet the satisfaction I get transcends any Zelig-like sense of being close to the action. For example, our advocacy helped induce Congresswoman Jehana Hayes to visit Israel with AIPAC and led to a warm, thoughtful exchange of ideas and concerns at the Capitol this past Tuesday. We lobbied, one, to support military aid to Israel, including items like Iron Dome that protects civilian lives. Two, to prevent the sunsetting of provisions within the economic boycott of Iran. And three, to ensure a politicized international criminal court not be empowered to prosecute Americans or Israelis. There was much more on that also just within the news later this week. In the general session, Senator Cory Booker, Democrat of New Jersey, made an outstanding case for Israel. He spent much time speaking about Rabbi Joachim Prinz, a refugee from Germany whom had been the rabbi in Booker City, Newark, New Jersey. And some B'nai Israelites will remember I likewise spoke about, though far less eloquently, Rabbi Prinz on the Shabbat honoring Martin Luther King Jr. Ambassador David Friedman did a good job making the administration's case for altering what had been a diplomatic status quo in favor of something much closer to reality. While there are a number of emotional moments, AIPAC can at times feel like policy wonk heaven. For me, that was a breakout session about sanctions on Iran and the likely implications. Immediately prior to Purim, this Shabbat is known as Shabbat Zachor, the Sabbath of Remembrance. It's a reminder for us to remain steadfast in our efforts to fight bigotry and oppression and promote human dignity and Jewish identity, the very essence we seek to do in promoting the American-Israel relationship. Yet one of the best parts of AIPAC happens away from the formal programming at the convention center. It's the opportunity to travel and or dine, for me, with congregants and enjoy some downtime together. Finally, I've already registered for next year, and I hope others will join me March 7th through 9th, 2021 in Washington, D.C. Hadar? And I have a microphone for you.
Yeah, Shabbat Shalom. Traditionally, after the gathering in DC, we come to DC as a delegation from Israel to enhance our understanding of the dynamic between America and Israel, and then what is really on the top of the legislative agenda to strengthen that relationship. And traditionally, we come back completely filled. We're registered too for next year. That was my 15th one consecutively, and I promise another 15 for sure. And we come back to report to you some highlights. Some of you may have seen it online, some of you read about it, but we would like to kind of share with you some of the highlights. I will start, and then I will invite, we have our delegation right here, so I ask each one of us to give a minute or two, just something of interest that caught us. For me, it's I'd like to, there's so much to choose from, but I was amazed from one particular breakout session. It's called the Intersectionality, Let's Stand Up for Our Values. And I was gravitating to it because I consider myself as a liberal thinker, and I always felt that the whole notion of intersectionality does not represent what I view as true intersectionality, and I was quite provoked that it's in AIPAC and it's going to irritate me yet again. So I went to and attend to it, and I actually was so amazed to see very young coalition of late 20s, early 30s Jews and non-Jews who really speak about the importance that intersectionality should actually be celebrating Zionism, because Zionism is actually one of the best expression of liberation of people. And of course, Jews stood up with other people who've been oppressed over the years. And these young folks spoke so eloquently how what I view and agree that actually intersectionality has been weaponized, and the word Zionism became equivalent to anti-Semitism of the far left, the way that supremacy is being representing anti-Semitism in the far right. And a woman named Amanda Berman, who is also a lawyer, developed an organization. It's a feminist organization, but they have other not women only. It's called Zioness, speaking on Lioness. And they are actually now have 35 chapters across the country where they have a coalition of young progressive pro-Israel Zionists who are standing for the same value that actually the left should represent. And I was so amazed, and unfortunately I'm not as young to join them, but I am planning to actually. And I will encourage you to actually look it online. It's quite impressive. It's been around only for 2 years. So with that, I'll actually pass it to you. Would you like Lisa to speak next?
I don't speak as eloquently off the cuff, so I wrote a little something. Going to the APAC conference always brings a buzz of excitement. From the moment one walks in the door to the Great Hall for the first general session to when the house lights go down and the stage lights brighten, it's apparent that an enlightening experience is ahead. This year's conference focused a great deal, surprise, surprise, on politics. The two most oft-repeated concepts we heard during the conference is the importance of bipartisan support for AIPAC and the importance of the American-Israel relationship that garners overwhelming support from bipartisan members of Congress. We were treated to presentations by Democratic candidates Mike Bloomberg, Joe Biden, and Amy Klobuchar. Chuck Schumer spoke, as did Steny Hoyer and Bob Menendez and other Democrats. We also heard from Vice President Pence, Mike Pompeo, Mitch McConnell, and Steve Scalise on the Republican side. What struck me as so interesting was the dialogue that started off the very first general session. We were reminded via a scripted presentation about the importance of respectful listening and engagement. In this divisive political climate, AIPAC actually felt it was necessary to remind a room of 18,000 individuals to be polite to the presenters. At first I was annoyed. Who did they think I was? Who we were to assume that we needed such a reminder? We paid a lot of money to be there and listen to all those presenters. And yet, I did feel myself sometimes suppressing a groan when somebody who is not affiliated with my party took the stage. But the more I thought about it, the more I was able to really listen and take in important information from the other side. And the message was clear. While I may rabidly disagree with many policies of the party I don't support, almost all of us agree on one thing. It is not only in Israel's best interest for the U.S. to support Israel, but it's in the U.S.'s best interest to support Israel, a country on the cutting edge of just about everything, including medicine, technology, defense, and the climate crisis. Clearly, I had needed AIPAC's reminder to keep an open mind. This was my fourth conference. While each year the conference schedule remains the same, the message I've gone home with takes on a new twist. This year, I left with a feeling of hopefulness. We're in tough times here in America. From contentious politics to coronavirus, each day brings new challenges. And yet, to see 18,000 people in the same room, including 4,000 teens, people of every race and religion, conservatives and progressives, all supporting our small state of Israel, was the very meaning of promise. It proved to me that despite our differences, which sometimes can seem insurmountable, we all agree on one critical message. America's ongoing support of Israel is crucial. That consensus is, in itself, encouraging, not only for the future of Israelis, but for the future of Americans as well. What's next?
I'll share with you kind of a fun thing. There's a lot of things that you encounter at these conferences that you would never hear. So I went to a very serious sounding breakout session called The Relationship of the Gulf States to Israel. Saudi Arabia, United Arab Republic, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Egypt, Jordan. And so that sounded very serious. And there was only one person presenting, a novelist. And his name is Joel Rosenberg. His father was Jewish, therefore his name, but his mother was Catholic, and he grew up as a Christian. And he became an evangelical Christian. And he went into journalism and failed at journalism in the late 90s. He was terrible. And so he gave that up and said, listen, I'll just start writing political thrillers. And he was interested in the Middle East, so he basically started to write books, novels, completely made up, only using the actual people of the Middle East as characters. So King Abdullah, the king of Saudi Arabia, and all these different people were in, Sisi, all of these people were in his books. And he had spies, and there were fights, and palaces were blown up, and people were almost killed, this kind of a thing. And in 2009, King Abdullah from Jordan came to visit Barack Obama. And Barack Obama didn't have time to meet with him. So the king was in Washington, D.C. with nothing to do for like 3 days. And someone handed him one of Joel's books to read. And in that book, it's all about him, and his palace gets blown up, and he almost dies, and he finds the book quite interesting. So he says, who is this guy? And he invites Joel Rosenberg to come to his hotel room in Washington, D.C., to have a chat with him. And Joel, who's an evangelical Christian now, okay, has this conversation with the king. And they get along quite well, and the king invites him to Jordan. And he said, listen, why don't you come to Jordan and come to the palace that you blew up in your book? This kind of a thing. So he goes over to Jordan and has this, wined and dined and whatever in the palace. And the king says, listen, this is actually a fake palace. This isn't the real palace. I have my own personal palace that's hidden, that nobody knows about. So he took him to the real palace. And meanwhile, a little bit, and so that they had this wonderful time. Joel said, listen, because the king was interested in his next book. And it was clear that the king wanted to be in the next book, And so he was kind of doing that. Joel was excited because he was getting some information that he could put into his novels. There was kind of a quid pro quo there. And anyway, so Joel said, listen, would you be willing to, I'm willing to do that, but would you be willing for me to come with a group of evangelical people to just visit you? And the king said, sure. So anyway, so a year later, he comes to do that. After a couple of years of doing this, two things happen. One is Joel decides to move to do Aliyah to Israel. So he moves his family to Israel, even though he's evangelical. Both of his kids are currently in the army in Israel. The second thing he did is that King Abdullah has friends, like the king of Saudi Arabia. And so the king said, listen, you gotta meet this incredible novelist, and maybe he'll put you in one of his novels. So he ends up being invited to the king of Saudi Arabia, and then the king of Bahrain, and Qatar, and Kuwait, and he meets a Sisi in Egypt, and he's got this thing, in which case now he's living in Israel, in 2014, whatever. He says, listen, can I bring a group of evangelicals and Jews to visit you? And they all sort of said, well, listen, okay, because he's only a novelist, right? He's not a political person. So at one point, just before Passover, 2015, Joel is sitting there in the anteroom with his evangelical and Jewish delegation, and he said, you know what? Isn't this ironic? Here I am on the edge trying to meet with the leader of Egypt, asking him, will you let my people come? And so we had this incredible meeting with the Sisi and all these things. And meanwhile, they're all interested in like his different kind of books and whatever. And so he comes back to Washington, D.C. for a visit, and he gets a phone call from the head of the CIA. And he goes, what's going on? And the head of the CIA says, listen, you're having private conversations with all the leaders of the Middle East. We'd like to find out what's happening. Come for dinner. So he ends up having the dinner with the chief of the CIA, then Homeland Security, and then Pence. So he goes up and has lunch with Pence, and he's now being asked what is going on and what are these conversations going on. And so he ends up being the intermediary that's going on, because most of these people are not talking that directly to each other. And so he said, listen, I've become the kind of back channel kind of communicator, even though actually the only thing I'm interested in is collecting information for my novels. This is all I'm doing. Anyway, and then people basically said, so what is happening? Bottom line, he said that all of these leaders are on the edge of making peace with and going above the radar and actually coming forward and saying they want a formal relationship with Israel. They are literally stepping right up to that line. And he said there are two reasons that he said there's three. They said all of them wake up in the morning, and the first thing that they worry about is whether or not they're still alive. Because they've got the KGB, the CIA, the Mossad, their own guards, and their own people, all of whom are possibly going to kill them. Once that's done after breakfast, then they're thinking about Iran. And they are very worried about Iran. And they know that Israel is going to be fighting with them in case a war breaks out with Iran. They already know that. But what has happened is they've now realized, as a result largely of Trump's policies, that they don't have any say in Washington. And that if they warm up to Israel, they will have more say in Washington. So they are beginning to think we need to actually formalize a relationship with Israel, not so much for Israel, but because of the strength of the relationship between Israel and the United States. And so that's what his comments were. So it's just, where would you hear this kind of stuff except at an AIPAC conference anyway? So he wrote the book, The Last Jihad, came out in 1998, 2 years before 9/11, where in the book, airplanes fly into towers. And several other of his books have predicted ahead of time major terrorist attacks. So he's a special individual. So I'm going to be looking at his novels as well. So.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Shabbat Shalom. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Yuri Schwartz, and this was my first AIPAC conference, and I was there in the company of the rabbi, Lisa, of course, Adar, David, and my wife, Alison, and several other congregants who I don't see in the audience tonight. But we sat through a myriad of political speeches from both the Republican side as well as the Democratic side. And what stood out to me the most, because your eyes glaze over after a while from all these speeches, is the fact that the American politicians' unwavering support for Israel is there, and it's very important to maintain that, as well as their fight against anti-Semitism. And particularly the BDS movement that's happening on college campuses. And for those of you who are not familiar with that, BDS stands for Boycott, Divest, and Sanction Israel over its policies. And those are the two main aspects which stood out to me from all the number of speeches that we've heard. And at least I enumerated all the different speakers, as well as the heads of states from various countries around the world, which we were blessed to have there. The other aspect, which for me as a dedicated Zionist, is to maintain Israel strong, and was very impressed by the innovation that occurs in Israel and is being brought over to the U.S. and really spread throughout the world. And Israel being known as a technology incubator, it really is. It is true. Some of the innovations are amazing. For example, they had such a thing it's called surgical theater in which basically in a pilot in the IDF, in conjunction with in working with an American surgeon, developed this system in which they could literally look at various aspects of the human body where they're looking to perform surgeries. And it provides an opportunity for the surgeon to not only visualize exactly what he's looking at or who he or she would be looking at, but in addition to that, to practice exactly the sequence of very delicate procedures that he or she would need to do in order to make sure the patient is maintained in a healthy state and comes out of the surgery and survives the procedure, especially as you can imagine for cranial brain surgeries. That is particularly important when you go to exact the different veins that you need to clip and to be able to see, for example, the tumor, the mass that's in there, and being able to exactly practice and know exactly where to clip each vein and to make sure that the procedure is carried out carefully and to provide the surgeon with an opportunity to practice and visualize exactly what he's going to be doing is fantastic. So that's just one example of the many innovations that come out of collaborations between, in this instance, between Israeli Defense Force pilot and an American surgeon, but there are many, many other ones which come directly from Israel. And for me, it provided a lot of pride, and being around 18,000 people there, most of them being Jewish, of course, it was in a secular setting. It was fantastic. I don't think I've ever been in a crowd of 18,000, much less mostly Jewish people. So it was a fantastic experience. It was my first one. I'm hoping that there'll be many more to come. Oh, and a thank you to Adam, which is Hadar and David's son, for being part of the APAC and working there and putting this conference together.
I'll pass it on. Thank you. Alison?
Good job. Good evening. There really isn't that much to say, but I thought it was important just to take a few moments to share some of the basic aspects of APAC. Oh, sorry, thank you. You've got it. Good evening. I just wanted to give you a few little tidbits because I think that when you hear 19,000 people and breakout sessions, it might be a little confusing. So I thought, let me just dumb it down and make it real simple because it's so accessible and it's so much fun. And I really feel that every year when we say next year in Jerusalem, it should really be next year in Jerusalem with a pit stop beforehand at APAC. The way the program is structured, it's 2.5 days. The first 2 days, it's always the same. It's a large meeting of all the people with a host of speakers from all over the world, all over the country, and then 2 different, what we call breakout sessions, where you get to listen to the preeminent thought leaders, ambassadors, think tank people, government officials from all sides, speaking on more topics than I could possibly mention, but everything from international affairs all over the world and how they impact Israel, but also technology, so much more. And then that happens, so each day there's a large breakout session, a large general session, 2 breakout sessions, we break for lunch, and then it's the same thing in the afternoon. That's the first 2 days, and then the last day, it's just 1 general session, and then we all go and lobby on the Hill. It is super accessible for people of all ages. There's no steps. Even though it's 19,000 people, it is spacious and comfortable. The food is right there. There are 1 million hotels in the area, and you can walk out the front door of your hotel, jump onto a bus. It drops you right at the front of the convention center. You walk 3 steps through security, you're in. So I guess my point is simply don't be afraid of actually getting there and going. And it's so wonderful, all of us being there together. There are synagogues that come with 100, 200 people, and I do just want to clarify one last point. It is, in fact, far more diverse than I anticipated. There are many, many Christians and evangelicals that come, and in fact, we were surprised to learn, so this would be my little anecdote, not nearly as wonderful as yours, But in fact, all the staff that are all around, and boy, there are at least 100 of them that are helping everybody find their way. It's real easy. They are all from evangelical churches all over the country that come in to help everybody for this event, which is really nice. So don't be afraid to come. Come find any of us. And we'd be very happy to give you more details and help you not be afraid to join us. And I think the last thing I just want to share, which my husband touched on, which is one of the coolest parts of APAC and for us, and was one of our breakout sessions, is that in the lower level of the convention center is in fact an enormous showcase of the most incredible innovations that are taking place in Israel. Israel calls itself Innovation Nation and Startup Nation, and your mind will be blown and you will indeed be proud. And I've actually brought some brochures from some of the tremendous advances that they're making. Happy to share with you later this evening. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Just to add to that, there are so many people there. And so you would think, oh my God, this is going to be incredibly intimidating. And they have it down to a science in terms of the way the crowd flows, how it goes. You go into a breakout session and, you know, it's intimate. And then you go outside and there's all these people, but they've got all the escalators, it's in the Washington Convention Center. But it is awesome when you go into the general session. Imagine this, it's one room. There are 100 rows of chairs, okay? 100 that go down a quarter of a mile. A quarter of a mile. 100 rows by a quarter of a mile filled with 18,000 American Israeli supporters. And they have, I think, probably 10 screens, gigantic screens, so you get to see the speaker up front. I mean, these huge LCD screens. And Hadar and I have a joke about, like, how quickly are we going to be crying? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, you know, and what they do is all year they develop these incredible stories of individual people. Somebody who walked across Ethiopia, Ethiopian Jew, who was picked up, and the helicopter pilot, and they bring the helicopter pilot, they show you the story on the screen, and then the helicopter pilot, the Israeli helicopter pilot, and this Ethiopian Jew, 20 years later, show up on stage, okay, with their kids, okay? And then it turns out, you know, that one of their kids is engaged to the other one. I mean, so it's this kind of, like, you know, layers of just amazing connections and stories that are highly personal, very personal. So it's not just political lectures all day. It's like they get you, and stories of incredible overcoming of things and charity. And they have, you know, some Syrian refugee, you know, who's Muslim and grew up in a family where they hated Israelis and stuff, and then they were taken care of by some hospital, you know, in Kiryat Shimona, this kind of a thing. And they just, one story after another, which is really, I don't know how they do this, and every year. So it was, I think, 4 minutes in this time, and we're just sitting there crying. And it's going, how can they do that? I mean, we've been here for 15 years, and they got us again, you know.
Well, great. We're going to be all at the ONEG, so there'll be some additional opportunity to ask questions and at our ONEG. page 598, we call to mind our own beloved dead, and I ask that those in mourning or remembering the anniversary of the death of a loved one, and who have trekked to the sanctuary during Shiva or Shloshim or for Yartzeit, should you be able, please rise when their name is mentioned. We first note the recent death of Ira Goldman, husband of Sharon. During Shiva, we remember Kristen Lindsay Grosso, granddaughter of Joan and Art Oceans. During Shloshim, we remember Eric Hall, partner of Michelle Rosen, father of Rebecca and Morgan, and Morley Kadola Livy, wife of Ken. This Shabbat, remember the anniversaries, the Yartzites of the deaths of Harry D. Barr, Nettie Berend, Louise Brandvine, Samuel A. Chase, Lillian Denzel, Bertha Erlanger, Joseph Vetbroth, Jacqueline Frank, Doris Garber, Saul Goldberg, Fanny Hasselkorn, Samson Holzer, Jacob K. Jenis, Louis Kaplan, Joseph Comator, Selma Liebeskind, Harry Meisel, Tilly Merson, Edward Oberman, Haskell Rosenbaum, Morris Sachs, Jane Solomon, Elizabeth Swirsky. If there are additional names to mention for Kaddish this Shabbat, please feel free to rise and say their names now. A practice within our congregation is to further consider these people. If you're comfortable so doing, we now invite you to share with this minyan a brief reflection or reference about a dear one on our Kaddish list.
And my dear wife Doris died 2 years ago this month, and I miss her tremendously every day. Just so happened I was starting to do my income taxes, and she was an expert at income tax preparation. And once in a while I say, "Oh God, Doris, I wish you were here." Double because of this. But I do miss her so much.
Each Shabbat, we also mention 6 names amongst the 6 million murdered in the Holocaust, the Shoah. And we now remember Shaya Yankelovich, Gittel Endersky, Zhenya Portnoy, Chana Portnoy, Paulina Portnoy, and Liana Burstein. In remembrance and solidarity, and on behalf of those for whom there is no one but us to say Kaddish, we now invite all present to rise if you're able. Our Kaddish prayer, page 598. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma divra chirute v'yamlich malchute, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehe Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitale v'yitalal shemei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Zichronam Lavracha, may their memories be for blessing, and let us say Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated.
Oh. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you to all of our IAC speakers and to Rabbi for leading today's services.
And to Lisa.
Thank you. I can't say and me. Is there any good news to share this week? Birthdays, anniversaries? Simcha Shabbat. It's
Correct.
March. My anniversary is this month. 21. 21. That's right. Ari's birthday was yesterday. Happy birthday Yuri. Wonderful. Anyone else? Yes. Oh, happy birthday, David. I saw your beautiful video with the balloons. That was lovely. Saturday, March 7th, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. will be Torah study. On Sunday, there's no religious school, but at 3 p.m. we have a Purim spiel, and at 4 p.m. there is a Purim carnival. Make sure to dress up. Monday, March 9th, at noon will be the funeral of Ira Goldman. At 7 p.m. will be the Megillah reading. Tuesday, March 3rd, at 11 a.m. is Rabbi's discussion group, and at 4:15 is religious school. Next Friday will be World Union Shabbat. Also, as a health precaution, we're dispensing with handshaking and/or kissing in our Oneg Shabbat greeting line, though we have an opportunity to offer the rabbi and one another a hearty Shabbat Shalom. You'll notice a few other differences during this period. Tonight's Oneg is sponsored by B'nai Israel. Shabbat Shalom. That's right. Turn your clocks ahead tomorrow night before you go to bed.
And so it's Lisa's anniversary in March, and Yuri has a birthday in March, so please stand. Any other March birthdays, anniversaries? Just Lisa and Yuri. So Yuri, I'll ask you to stand. Lisa's already standing. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless these members of our congregation who during the months of their birthdays and anniversaries have arisen to celebrate this milestone in reverence for God, the Torah, and our people. May the Holy One bless you and your families and prosper your deeds. May this be a time of love and special joy. Blessed are you, Adonai, who blesses the year. And let us all say Amen.
Amen.
Happy anniversary, Yom Huledet Sameach. There you go. Page 626 for Ein Keloheinu.
Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kamoshienu, Mi Keloheinu, Mi Kadonenu, Mi Kemalkeinu, Mi Kamoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
May God's presence be with you and give you peace. Shabbat Shalom. Please join us in the social hall for our Kiddush and Motzi.
Oh, I put my bag over here.